medical study on the effects of marijuana use confirms that everyone knows you're high and that you'll most likely never stop feeling like this.
Your parents know you're high. Your friends know you're high. Strangers on the street know you're high.
Welcome to Everyone Knows You're High. Hosted by Uncle Kalei.
You're gonna never come back, you know, all that stupid shit.
And Uncle Erik.
If I could retreat away.
Yeah, you should definitely try that.
This is forever. This is the new reality.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Everyone Knows You're High, starring the Grow Guru and myself, Erik. This week, our special guest is May from Malie Cannabis Clinic. Welcome to the studio. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so stoked to be here.
We're stoked to have you.
Very stoked to have you here. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My pleasure.
So first things first, when was the first time you got high? Or tell us about the first time you got high.
I wish that it was like super cool, epic, dreamy type moment, but it was junior high, like after school, me and my girlfriend, her name was Crystal, and I think she might have been named after Crystal, you know.
Oh,
the Crystal.
Yeah.
The M-E-T-H.
Shout out to Crystal
Right.
for sparking the revolution.
For sparking the revolution. Yeah. So, like 90s, like little skate crew.
Nice.
And her, she got a joint from her mom. She totally stole it. Probably like a roach. Probably totally had seeds
from an ashtray.
Yeah,
Pow.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Totally from an ashtray. So we try it. We're with our other friends, and they totally freaked out and turned it into an after school special. So we take a couple hits off this I imagine totally not amazing weed, and then instantly our friends are like, oh my god, you just did heroin.
Somebody watch her.
Yeah, totally.
She can't make decisions on her own.
Exactly. And so we ended up just getting super kind of freaked out and and then spun out, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is necessarily for me, which is actually probably good because I was 14.
Right. we don't condone underage smoking.
What is that, ninth grade?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but then as I got older and just started getting into kind of hip hop reggae type scenes, and I mean, this is the 90s, so most of it was all and I grew up in Missouri in the Midwest, right? So it was all total ditch weed. But I remember the first time I got good weed.
Oh, do tell.
Was this in Missouri or is this
This is in Missouri.
How'd you find that?
I know, right? So
It was the year 2000.
it was. You're right. Probably.
It's the new millennium.
It
Things are
was
changing.
like 1995-ish.
Okay.
Okay. And I still remember it was called Johnny Utah. That was like the little regional name for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess. Where was he from in the movie?
I know, right?
Took place in California, right?
But was he from Hawaii?
No. Wasn't I don't know. I figured like he was a Midwest dude who like moved out to California to infiltrate the bank robbers.
Wait.
Right.
Right. This is I can't think of the name
Point
of the
Break?
movie.
Yes, Point Break.
Point Break. Right.
Yeah.
And wasn't he like undercover?
Yes. Patrick Swayze?
No.
Was
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, that's right.
Keanu Reeves was the
Keanu.
undercover, right?
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze was the bank
Yeah.
robber. That's right.
That's right. And they were surfing bank robbers.
Yes. One more wave. You gotta let me do it.
Yes.
And he's done after that. He quits the force.
Yes. And just like mysteriously
Yeah.
lets his partner go off into the biggest wave
And he
ever.
eats it like he
Yeah.
knew that was a suicide mission. It's like so fucking cheesy.
I know.
It's a classic.
Well, you grow close to the criminals you're trying to infiltrate, right? So you got to give them that one last wave.
Yeah.
He
Right?
knows how much it
Bro.
means to him.
Totally. It's like a spiritual
This
experience.
swell doesn't come too often, bro.
All right, but anyway, Johnny Utah in
Johnny
Missouri.
Utah, Missouri, and totally spiritual experience where I was like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Mhm.
Like I'm into it, and yeah, that was what, like probably 27 years, maybe
Hell
longer, right?
And since then, has it been just a constant love affair with it, or?
Yeah, total love affair, but always with like little breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Just like having kids, or mainly when I'm in school, because there's nothing like more annoying for me to like learn a bunch of stuff, smoke weed, and then forget it. I have a hard time learning anyway, so
Dude, I hate picking up my phone and like, what the fuck was I gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yes, but and I didn't really be, like young 20s was definitely more I converted to Rastafarianism, and that's when it was like, which was actually so good to be young and to be like that, because just like clean living and no
processing of any kind.
exactly, and like good cannabis. I actually came out to Maui around that time when I was like, and that was my first experience with like Hawaii and the cannabis here.
Mm-hmm.
And 90s, early 90s, like Green Harvest was still aggressive, but there was still, still some.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't that hard to find weed back in those days,
No,
too.
yeah. I feel like I never had a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Good job.
Right?
Drug agencies, pouring all
Yeah.
their money into them.
Tax dollars well spent, my friend. Can you pass that lighter, please?
Those are the jobs they're worried about losing when drugs become legal. Those jobs that can't even do the job they're being paid to do right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they should go.
And not only that, think about all the people who did get busted during that time period. That's like, nowadays they look back like, what the fuck? I just wasted all that time and money, and for what? It's illegal now. Like,
Yeah.
I could have made a business out of it, legit business. Instead, I did some time, like
Yeah.
even doing time. Like, imagine how much jobs he lost out on because he had
No.
a record for cannabis. Like, fuck. So
Yeah.
sad.
No, and it's so just unjust, and so I'm doing this presentation with AKIM, so it's this group that I'm a part of. So
What is AKIM?
it is. I'm glad you asked.
It's an acronym?
It is. So it is for cannabis health and equity in medicine. And so we are a global organization. And really our focus is for health and equity with cannabis. So not only as cannabis as medicine, but for hemp, because we also believe that it can help with a lot of environmental and social justice type issues. And so we're doing basically a history of your culture in cannabis. So I'm doing Polynesia, and Hawaii actually has the longest history of cannabis in Oceania, amongst Pacifica people, Polynesians, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. What
So-
was the first date?
So there's a lot of because controversy about like when it was first brought here. Was it brought by Captain Cook? Was it brought by whalers? Was it brought by cowboys? But the thought is probably whalers, because
Interesting.
when you look at like whalers and how they kind of changed some of the habits of Hawaii at that time,
Got you.
because they weren't like super into the food like poi and fish, and so they Hawaiians and the locals here started growing more agriculture to sell
To them.
to them.
Mm.
So, and a lot of them were from New England, and cannabis was super popular, used as medicine there.
Right.
But the first actual written documented cannabis in Hawaii was in 1842, and it was in Kanona Nona, which was a Hawaiian language newspaper.
Unreal.
Right?
Unreal.
Was there a Hawaiian word for it, or was it like a phonetic?
Yeah.
Kinda-
So that's like also, so they say pakalolo.
You say that, yeah.
Yeah. And that is the word, but, more as numbing tobacco. In that sense, like for that style, instead of crazy smoke, it was more like numbing tobacco, which makes sense
Right.
when you think of what it does, right?
Right. That whole it making you go crazy kind of stigma kind of just branched off to a different, avenue. But
Yeah.
that's not what they're intended to name it,
You
No.
know, that was all like propaganda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They probably were like fucking Reefer Madness was working, so they're like, let's try to change this to like crazy, wacky tobacco. You know what I
No,
mean?
absolutely. I'm sure that's when all of that
Happened.
that language shifted. And so we know that cannabis was legal in the Kingdom of Hawaii. It was legal all throughout what is it? It's the plebiscite. It was like right before Hawaii became a territory. It's like this weird transition. But legal throughout then up until 1937.
Huh.
And it was, how they say one person can change the world?
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But this is one person, Harry Anslinger, changed the world for the fucking worst.
Oh yeah.
I don't like to cuss, but
I love it. I
me
love
too.
it.
okay.
We have a
What was his name again?
we have,
Harry
Anslinger.
Anslinger. So
Fuck you, Harry.
I know this
Anslinger.
fuck you, Harry.
Fucking asshole.
we've talked about
Kiss
this.
my
Like, I
ass.
know this story too, and it's a fucked up story just because of one man's greed and how he did change like the world basically
Yeah, no, he, like
for the worst.
for the worst.
Yeah. Not in a good way.
100%
Okay.
for the worst.
I'm digging this history lesson, by the way. This is awesome.
Yeah, so
We will do that to you because I told you this story before.
Did you really? Okay.
right.
But for people who didn't watch that episode, let's tell it again. Go ahead.
You want me-
From
okay.
your perspective. Yeah, you
Okay,
tell it. You tell it.
just because I'm a weed professor, that's one of my other side jobs, and I had
Dope.
taught this in my class, so I'll give
Do you
a
have
really,
letters after your name?
I do.
What are they?
Okay, I know.
That
That too. It is FNP-BC, so that's Family Nurse Practitioner Board Certified. So I have a Master's of Science in Nursing.
I love it.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
My mother's a nurse.
And
But Harry Asslicker.
Harry and Slinger, he's the worst. Okay, so let's just start. So he originally worked in alcohol prohibition. That was his entire jam. He excelled at it. He did great. But then they legalized alcohol, thank God, because people were dying from it, from illegal alcohol, right?
Right.
And it was just causing so much more violence. So his unit is essentially cut. He has like no job.
Okay.
Right? And at the time, his wife worked for what, like, her dad was in charge of what would later become like the IRS. So he's like, I want to do something that is, you know, against drugs. And then how, because, you know, the war on drugs started as a very racist, and it was really like, what intensified it was his hatred of cannabis and his hatred of jazz musicians, and he took out his anger on Billie Holiday. So I don't know if you've seen that movie, but he was so aggressive. So anyways, he is the one who started the entire, you know, propaganda, fear, what is the movie? Reefer Madness.
Right. Okay.
That came out. And so when that came out in the United States, it also was here, right? And so that happened. And then right after that, you know, with Vietnam is really after Vietnam, and during that time, it's considered one of the golden ages of Hawaii cannabis, from like, you know, late 60s, early 70s, you know, up into the late, because that's when, you know, so many amazing, you know, strains happened here. Yeah. And then as we move into the 1980s, that's when we see grain harvest. So Hawaii actually had one of the most aggressive cannabis eradication programs, I would say, in the United States, if not the world, because it was it was like DEA,
Right.
DHNL, DLNR, sorry, DEA, Department of Land and Natural Resources, HPD, FBI, and the National Guard.
Huh.
So
Wow, that's some heavy artillery.
Multi-agency.
it was multi-agency, and so, you know, what they were doing. So, Green Harvest was and is gnarly, but Operation Wipeout was.
What is that?
I know.
Tell.
What it sounds
So
like.
it's what it sounds like. So in I think 1989-ish, whoever our AG was writes this report like Hawaii is a high crime cannabis because of all these growers. So we get this designation of a high density drug trafficking area. So because of that, we get this influx of federal money, right? So what they did was they took helicopters and they retrofitted them. So, you know, instead of the like
Right.
pew 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 guns, they used glyphosate. And so they would go,
Whoa.
yeah, so it's so gnarly.
Just spray? What is that? What is
It's
glyphosate?
Roundup. It's
Oh,
a
fuck.
really, really fucking
Monsanto.
Monsanto.
To give you cancer because you're growing weed. That's so fucked
No,
up.
straight up.
Yeah.
And so for like,
Here's some
and they were
lymphoma.
doing like mapping of it, like mapping out the,
Motherfuckers.
right.
man.
They would map it out, and for like certain ones, they couldn't like say there was, you know, they couldn't get to it. They just would glyphosate it.
Ain't that some shit? Man.
Man, like, so yeah, so you would like,
And like you think about it on the farmers, farmers' perspective, they're like, "Fuck, my crop's dying." They're gonna chop, they're gonna dry, and they're gonna try and sell whatever they can.
Yeah.
I mean, he's growing it for profit reasons. He's not gonna smoke, a quarter of an acre of weed. Now there's glyphosate on it, and now he's drying it. Now he's giving it out to all these people because he needs to make some sort of money for all his labor, right? I mean, he's not gonna trash everything.
right.
So now all these people are smoking these fucking Roundup joints.
Yeah,
going
and
on.
that was,
But doesn't it kill it? Or
no, it would
No.
have, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
But then
Feel the plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, let's say you're flowering, right? And you're like week 6 and you got some colas on there and you're like, dude, I went through fucking a month and a half of, watching this crop and now there's fucking Roundup on it and it's dying. You can see it. It's not dead. They're going to pull that shit out, try and dry it and try and sell it. Right.
Damn.
They're going to try and just be real. You know what I mean? Not everybody has the moral compass to go and there's some poison in here. Let me throw it away. Some people are going to fucking still sell it.
So what happened to Green Harvest? Are they still around?
So yes. So Operation Wipeout that year they were like 87 to 90. In 87 they harvested, cut down, confiscated 19 million pounds of cannabis in the state of Hawaii.
Jeez.
And that's when 90% of our outdoor crop was killed. Crazy, right?
And at this point, it was already legal in California, like medically, or
maybe right then is when
it started happening.
Yeah, because I would have to like look at my notes, but it was right around
that same time.
So, because it was like so aggressive, whatever, and we probably, to be honest, like, did a good job and the federal funding, dried up. But,
of course, man.
I know. That's probably what happened is,
It always
to be
does.
realistic, is the feds.
If you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Right.
You use that budget, you'll get more next year.
Yep. Yeah, no, for real. So Green Harvest is still around. They're still harassing patients on the regular. I think it definitely picked up COVID-ish with that. That's when I noticed it, just from the community. I don't know if you have any, like, around that time. I felt like...
Okay, try I'm super stoned. Try repeat that again.
For Green Harvest, flying in.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
Picked up a little bit.
It picked up steam, and it wasn't like, I noticed that the Department of Health would be there during compliance checks.
Yeah.
But then after a certain time, only HPD showed up and no Department of Health. So I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. As a medical patient, I'm like, is my medical information now accessible to the HPD? Well, that's kind of fucked
and
up.
Are these police officers even qualified to be checking your shit? Isn't that why the Department of Health is there?
That's what I'm trying to say. The Department of Health is supposed to be the regulating entity on your farm to be like, hey, this is what you guys are looking for.
Are the cops health inspectors now?
Right.
So, as a farmer, I was like, man, I didn't get compliance checked, but my neighbor did. And so I was like, dude, hide your shit a little bit better. But anywho, he's like sweating bullets. I'm like, dude, it's okay. Your farm will be okay. You're tagged right. Yep. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But if you leave a little fucking opening in your gate that they can fit through, they'll fit through and they'll go to places where you don't want them. So it's kind of good from all the people that had compliance checks. What I noticed worked for them is if you escort them to the spot that you want them to compliance check. Be like, I'm growing in my backyard. 2 officers, can you guys lock the door behind you and take them to, because the last thing you want is people just going about with you not even knowing. It's such a it's a nerve-wracking fucking process that if you can't even call it a fucking compliance check. Like, it feels like a pat down. And you're like, oh, fuck. I didn't get compliance checked, thank God, but just feeling the vibe of my neighbors getting compliance checked, it felt like a shakedown almost. Like,
I'm getting the vibes right now, but you're giving me like...
You're getting scared.
Yeah, for sure.
It's traumatizing,
It is.
Like a small crop right now, like even with like the laws being like decriminalized and having like a crop and not having the proper credentials.
How big is a crop? That's like a kind of...
I mean, crop.
They can kind of decipher whether it's a crop on a collective basis or a crop on a personal basis. You know what I mean? Like, the scale and the way it's organized to be self-sufficient kind of indicates it's a collective. So when they do flyovers, they kind of like do isolate those guys. Like, oh, that looks like it's a collective, and they'll swoop in and do their shit. But regardless, it's still a person that's coordinating everything. There might be a grower there that has nothing to do with the crop. and yet is caught on this crossfire of compliance check. You know, it's a sweaty situation, man.
It's pretty sweaty.
Why don't they use drones? It seems like such a waste of money to use a helicopter. These assholes. Even that is like kind of just abuse of the funds.
Well, it's a flex, right?
Yeah.
And they have funds that they got to use. So.
Yeah, but drones are pretty intimidating too. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's kind of like, oh fuck, what the shit?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like I hope that we are to a point one day to where it's not even an issue.
It should be free trade, in my opinion.
It should be, yeah.
Free.
You got bananas, I got fucking weed. I want some bananas today. Here's some weed. Give me some bananas.
Right?
My whole thing is
So
like,
simple.
it should be like a banana. Like that's how legal it should be.
Apples and bananas.
Should have the same legal status as any other plant.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not
100%.
like opium, but even
Well,
still, like plants are plants. You can't really like.
I mean, it's a medicine, right? And
Ugh.
like,
Yeah.
let's say they deem it recreation. I mean, recreation is still defined as a medicine. Like, it's still therapy, right?
Yeah,
so
for
being
sure.
being able to release and that's why, like I would say time and time again, people like to go home and drink for that release, right?
Yeah.
This is an easy replacement for that in fucking every facet that you're looking for, you know. And in fact, I think this would be more therapeutic for people in that aspect. But when you think about like how much scrutiny, and we look at la'au as our practice, we're able to grow all kinds of shit, you know, that's la'au for us, but and even cultural significance, you know, like ava. We can grow ava.
Yeah.
It's culturally significant to us Polynesians. It doesn't handle the same scrutiny as cannabis. Cannabis is somehow a fucking line where you can't cross this line because of what, you know?
Harry and
Harry's
Slinger.
Yes.
We're on a fucking roll tonight.
You know what else?
Fuck you, Slinger.
Another reason that motherfucker went so hard against hemp even too is because he had a newspaper and he was using cotton and shit to like make the paper or whatever. And they've just recently found a way to like make paper out of hemp way quicker, way easier, and way cheaper than the way he's been doing it, and he wanted that shit out.
But why wouldn't you just adapt to that? And since you have all this capital to deal with, do it and do it better because you have more resources to do it better. Why wouldn't someone just do that instead of being like, let me put my resources to fucking this guy you know, and the world, instead of being like, that's a good idea.
Like,
let me try and fucking do it on a more efficient scale. You know?
Get in on it instead of smashing it down. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Yeah.
He's a dick.
Yeah,
He's a
totally.
dick.
Fuck you.
Yeah, no.
Woo.
For real.
That felt good to say.
Yeah, you looked in the camera when you did that too.
I did.
How many different lenses do you have on that glasses over there?
One I need to see and one I don't want to see.
It's like the Big Daddy thing where you're like, I'm nervous. Shut it.
Invisible now.
Go to the club.
We should have a camera on your ass right now. That'd be perfect.
No, for
We
real.
get too much cameras in here.
You're so snazzy, bruh.
It looks great.
With those glasses, if I didn't know you, I'd say your name is Pierre.
Yeah.
What does Pierre say?
I don't care. You guys don't know that song?
No.
Pierre, the boy who didn't care? Oh my god.
Oh.
From Carole King? I think it's Carole King. Go look him up.
Don't do that.
Don't touch anything.
Don't do
And
that.
Careless Whisper. Should I look up
No, I'm
Careless
pretty sure. Pierre, the boy who didn't care. He just didn't care about anything, and one day he got eaten by a lion and finally learned his lesson.
Oh, wow.
After he got
Oh,
eaten
and
by a
he's in the
lion,
belly
what
of
kind
the
of
lion,
lesson is
yeah.
that?
He was in the belly of the lion.
Because the lion spit him out. He didn't like chew him. He just like one go.
Okay.
So he's able to regurgitate him alive still. I mean, it's
What a
fiction.
merciful lion.
Yeah,
Some Brothers Grimm stuff right there.
Yeah, for real.
it's dark.
It's super
It's
dark.
dark. There's a song to
I'll
it.
never
It's
call
a
you
song.
Pierre again.
As long as I come back up, I'll tell you all about it.
Bill.
Every time my boys are like, I don't care. I don't care. He's like, you know about Pierre, right? You better care.
Yeah.
One of your sons like, man, fuck Pierre. What, daddy?
Trying to start a war with France.
No more sparkling water for you.
Oh, shit. But, yeah, do you think that cannabis for us Polynesians will be a way to, how should I say this, utilize cannabis to bring our culture back?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because, cannabis isn't really like, it's not, native or indigenous to anywhere in Polynesia. It was brought here. But when it was brought here, the Polys are instantly like,
whoop whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into this.
They were like, fuck. They were like, fuck Harry and Slinger.
No, straight up.
Fuck that guy.
Like, so Hawaii first, right? For sure, mid 1800s, totally documented. And then, so the story is pretty similar. It was brought here. We all loved it. We're like, yeah, can we get some more of that? And then fucking Harry Anslinger and the war on drugs ruined it.
Was it like Hawaiians were like, hey, guy on the couch, you got to try this shit, and sent stuff back to like Tahiti and like South Pacific Islands? They're like, bro, you got to try some of this shit.
Yeah. So, for Samoa, the origin. So a lot of this is like oral history, right? Too, because, it was super illegal and is still super illegal. So American Samoa has the harshest cannabis rules in the United States.
No way.
Yeah, to this day. So they didn't have like a cannabis rule until 1965 or 67, right around there. And that rule they wrote then is still in place.
Wow. What's this new information bullshit?
Yeah, they're like, so since then, it's the same. And it's $5,000 fine and 2 to 10 years in prison. And it's a felony.
Wow.
The majority of those cases end up with the guilty in prison, or is it like they get the fine and are free, or
no, they're like are guilty and in prison, and it's like if you read the Samoa Observer, our news story, our newspaper, like even like probably last month somebody got sentenced to 2 years for having 4 joints, but no cannabis is imported to Samoa. So you know what that says. People are growing a lot of it still. And so, it's like, so it exists, but it's like very much like kind of a blind eye until it.
Gotcha. Just turn their cheek and be like, I didn't see that.
What's the thing on this side? Anna, you want to assist? Yeah.
Unreal. I hope that like over time they can adapt and like use it to build their economy, like
for sure.
Countries like that, they need it, you know what I mean? Because we're stuck on the Pacific. There's a lot of shit. And I tell people, like, we had a tissue culture class, right?
Yeah.
And I told people, like, hey, don't even look at this as a cannabis class. Look at it as an overall wellness class, because we live in the middle of the Pacific, and when the ships don't fucking come,
right,
guess what? We got to resort to this shit, and this is where our food's going to come from.
Yeah.
So think about this as something you can use universally, not for cannabis, but we all know the benefits of the tissue culture in cannabis.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
What was that class? The tissue culture. I don't know anything about that shit. It sounds like
you're taking a little tissue sample, and you're cleaning it.
Like what? Off of like a stem? You like slice off a piece?
Yeah, it's called I believe the meristem, from what I believe, and it has the highest rate of growth hormones. So you're taking that and you're peeling back the layers to the most sterile with the lowest plant material, and then you're sterilizing that and putting it in a substrate, which is agar and sugars and hormones.
Okay.
And that's in sterile, you call it, I guess, planting, or like an inoculation, just like mushrooms.
Okay.
And then that should be able to archive that genetics of that plant. So that plant will not, you'll have that genetic code, or that plant as its own genetics, that phenotype and everything. But it's pretty much in like its suspended state. It doesn't throw roots until you allow it to throw roots. And when it does, it grows to another plant. But the most beneficial thing is if that had a disease, you washed out the disease.
Could you do that with a human, though?
What?
I don't know.
Of course you can.
Man.
Give me your fingernails, man. Let's try out.
You can ask that. Of course they can do that.
But that's breakthrough, because like the Rapidohia death, that could be used potentially. I don't know. Like, I don't know how far they went into that, but that could potentially be something to save that. You know, a lot of endemic plants that get destroyed from, you know, foreign influences like, you know, pests.
You're talking like some Jurassic Park shit with plants, like you're saving the DNA in like some sort of suspended animation to reanimate later to regrow it.
Yeah.
Disease free.
Han Solo and the frozen carbonite.
You could do that with the OD shit. Why are they doing that?
I don't know for the
that
ROD, but I'm
a good idea.
Theoretically,
probably.
You could.
I imagine they're like
They
somebody's
should.
working on it. Like,
Yeah.
And tissue culture's been around for a while, apparently, and the orchid industry was using tissue cultures for a while.
Humans.
That's why GMO is not necessarily always bad.
I was gonna say, why don't they do that with all plants? But I guess plants don't really go extinct anymore. Yeah, it's more like animals.
They do.
Plants.
Yeah.
Endemic plants here in Hawaii definitely do
So
go extinct.
why didn't? Is this like a new thing?
I mean, I don't think it's been widely practiced. Practiced widely like it is like with the cannabis industry. People are more like open. It's such a valuable crop, right?
Yeah, but
Especially the genetics and stuff. People,
Native
on
plants are
everyday
also
thinking, people
valuable.
tend to
Fuck.
overlook what's not in front of their faces. So if you got an endemic plant dying on the fucking mountain, the normal person that does the tissue culture is not really thinking in that direction, right? They're thinking more like, let's put out a valuable crop and preserve that genetics because that is more valuable than, say, something like that. But now, this day and age, we realize that fucking that's way more important than anything that, you know?
Or equally as valuable. Maybe not way more.
Shout out to Dynasty for having old school genetics and preserving it, man.
Yeah,
That's what's
for
up.
sure.
Right.
That should be happening everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Breed for the medicine, not for the looks.
Right.
Fuck.
Or for THC. Breeding for just high THC is so boring.
Thank you so much,
It takes
May.
out so much of like because
I love this.
the cannabis plant is stingy, right? You can't have both.
Right.
You can't have high THC and high terpenes. It's just
I've had some 15%ers that just fucking laid me out.
right. Where you're like, whoo.
Like, holy shit, I need to go buy that. Where'd you get it from? Fuck, I don't know. Where's the receipt? I don't know. You know, like those
Right.
dispensaries, you're like, oh, this weed doesn't look that good. But you look at the numbers, 15%.
And then you clean the whole house, in one day.
Yeah, bro. Or like you pass out with Fritos on your tummy, like David Hasselhoff. You know, just fucking eating a burger off the floor. Like I got so high that day. I was like, where'd that come from? This 15% right here, man.
Yeah.
So don't believe all the numbers.
Don't feel and like really I don't know. I think so much of cannabis marketing is just so like incorrect, boring, and wrong.
And that being said,
Is it possible? Is this a thing where, like, say you harvest the plant?
and that being said, shout out to Darius for hooking us up with his lovely pre-rolls. Which hey, I appreciate the gesture, my friend. But this is just a point.
We're not going to say no.
We're not going to say no, and we love you for it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
But I agree. This fucking packaging does not reflect on the flower itself. Like, this is all nothing. You know, the only thing that matters is the trichome on this flower.
Yeah.
And all the numbers you can throw at it. You can roll it in fucking gold keef and all this other crystals, glitter, whatever.
But the glass filter is pretty cool, though.
It's the
Fuck.
medicine, Brad.
You're paying for that
That's what
to
I keep
recycle
it
that
for,
after.
dude. The glass filter. But it's all about the medicine, and if the
$60 glass
medicine
tip.
doesn't have what it is, then you're fucking smoking a cigar.
Well, here's my question from me. Say you harvest a plant, you get whatever amount off of it, and you grab a nug, you give it to the testing facility, and it comes back 15% or whatever percentage.
Yeah.
Is that for every nug that was on there? Not necessarily,
Not
right?
necessarily, no.
So maybe
It
the
could
numbers
vary.
you're reading is 15% off that, but whatever part of that plant that was in your specific bag could have been like the fucking
But correct me if
25.
I'm wrong. Some terpenes inhibit the absorption of cannabis, right? Or cannabinoids, right?
So
what? It's working against us?
so CBD can inhibit THC.
Got you. Okay.
And terpenes essentially enhance the cannabinoids.
Okay.
And there's some terpenes that supercharge them.
Okay. So it makes it more complex then, right?
Yes.
Got you. Okay. You heard it.
So
Entourage effect.
Entourage.
yes, and it's more more nuanced. To say it's like indica and sativa is boring.
Yes.
Like, and it tells me nothing about like what it's gonna feel like.
And the gene pool's been flooded after all these years, so you can't really say like this is 60% sativa.
Like, what does
Yeah.
this
It's
say?
kind of a shot in the dark, right? Like you really can't go on like what you read as far as it's this much THC. Let's
Yeah.
just say it's all hybrided out.
This is just
Yeah.
it says hybrid on it.
Word.
And
Top
you know-
shelf. Top shelf.
Oh, cool. That's cool. I want to check it out.
Yeah, like my Long Island's.
No, I have a headache just saying hearing that word.
Sorry. Long Island's.
Yeah.
You know where the term uppercase for letters comes from?
No.
Back in the day when it had the printing press and had all the individual numbers or letters and shit.
Oh, okay.
The top row was the like capitalized letters because you use them less, so they had the fucking lowercase on the bottom, hence uppercase letters.
Interesting.
Can I get the uppercase?
Yep.
Oh, here.
Grab that from the uppercase.
You get
So
all
it has
ma-
all
you
the
get
all
mad
the
and throw
all
the
the
uppercase.
all the information and data right here
Perfect.
in nice Arial font. I think.
In your position, how accurate would you say that is?
Oh, for lab results?
Just like you know how the marketing they have that on
Yeah.
top, like
So cannabis, I feel like the way that it's marketed is very like high THC and loud, you know, and,
pow,
yeah,
boom, right?
Like I mean, you know, this has 100 this like moon rocks and all sorts of everything, but this is really pretty. I'm not talking about your Canagar.
No. I was using it as an example where it's like a wax drip tip, right?
Yeah.
It shows like it being connoisseur level where you want to preserve it in the wax, but it's fucking silicone, right?
Yeah.
Bootleg wax tip dip. Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't know.
Word.
There's
This is
other
when you're
purpose.
smoking in like a baggie or something that you just got
Right.
from a
Like,
friend.
honestly, what would you buy? Like, you know,
What's
what I
the
mean?
price?
See, and
good
that
point.
goes to that, right?
Can
How
I
much-
smell it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I smell it? Like that's because I
Like,
mean,
can I open this package and actually inspect it before I buy it, or do
No,
I just have
it's
to
sealed.
go?
No.
No, I know
Yeah.
exactly. That's my point.
It's
Like,
sealed. There's a reason why it's sealed.
and the variations between each one, they can't all be
Light it up,
fucking
bro.
the same. You know what I'm saying?
We
And
got
not
two,
having, like-
courtesy of
Oh.
Darius.
Not
Love
like
you,
having the
buddy.
knowledge of what's in that baggie
There's
versus
so much
what's
keef
inside
on
that
this
glass
But it's a
cylinder.
pre-roll, right? Too.
Wait, sorry,
so
sorry, Anu was
I'm
saying
sorry,
something.
I'm-
What?
Oh no, I'm going on like you're not knowing the percentile of what's in that baggie versus what's inside that glass roll. Like to me, I've only seen like packaged Pacololo within like the last 10 years, and then seeing it with like percentages on it, and knowing how low those percentages are versus like, fuck, I even know what's in this, but this nug looks killer. You can smoke it, right?
right.
But I mean, like, were the percentages higher, like back in the day versus now, where they're still labeling it?
No. So like all of the like OG like strains, they were closer to like 1-to-1s.
Yeah.
CBD was intentionally bred out a lot in like late 80s, early 90s, but especially through the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Is when because if you are gonna risk getting in trouble, you know,
Right,
you,
right.
Yep.
you are gonna select for. So you know, it just kind of slowly got bred out, and it wasn't really, you know, I feel like until kind of, you know, 2010ish when Charlotte's Web and more
Specific CBD came out.
stuff,
Yes.
and then but you know, when they've done kind of like the research on the older strains, like done testing on them, that's closer to what they were. And you know, it makes sense, because if
Yeah.
you think about the cannabis that would have been in the United States, a lot of it would have been for hemp.
Right.
right?
Right.
So it wouldn't, and then they were crossbreeding it with, because the true sativa and indica, so sativa, when we look at it as an agricultural early science term, sativa was the hemp stock used for rope, and indica was the drug,
The medicine.
the one that had
THC in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, that's what it really was.
Huh. Interesting history, man.
Dropping some bombs right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
But that's
Everybody needs to be on this level, like they need to know this history. This is important shit right here, man.
yeah. So when you see the old like drug labels from like Eli Lilly, all of that, it was all like cannabis indica, because people knew that was like.
Got you.
And they were doing wild, cool cannabis formulations
Oh yeah.
then. Yeah, because you could just go like get it like Tylenol, right? Forever. And for like a really, for at least solid 100 years in the United States.
Huh. Interesting how far and yet how much we backpedaled. And if you ever smoke like a strain in the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
The high is way more dynamic than you would get off a strain today.
Yeah.
A lot of the strains that's bred straight THC strains, it's a real quick high and it's real single faceted.
Yeah.
I remember smoking back in the days where it's like you get so fucking obliterated. You're like, what had happened? And like I didn't really. I mean, I got the sour diesel back. I just got the sour diesel. Do you still have that one? No, you killed it. Oh.
I didn't kill it. It killed itself.
Oh, I did. I'm sure
It lost its will to survive.
Yeah. It committed suicide.
I tried. It was like,
Fucking guy. So, like getting those old school strains back and like really smoking them again now in my 30s. I'm like, whoa. It wasn't a tolerancy thing when I was back in, as a teenager. It's like these strains really were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I was just about to ask how much of that is an age thing and a tolerance thing.
I have a super high tolerance now, bro.
No, I know
I'm,
you
like,
do.
Smoking
Yeah.
something that gets me shit faced now. It's like, hold on to it. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tolerance. So, that's like really the biggest side effect with long-term cannabis use. And, I think that we have kind of a misunderstanding of tolerance too. Cause, I think a lot of people think like, oh, I got to take like one big break a year, right? Like, oh, I'm going to stop for a month. But in reality, what happens with tolerance for THC is, okay, so, melatonin, right? Everyone for sleep, right? So you take melatonin every night for sleep, your body stops making its own melatonin, right? Makes sense, yeah?
Yes.
So with your endocannabinoid system, so with the plant, so with the phytocannabinoids, THC, right? You keep using it, and then your body is like, oh, I'm not going to make endocannabinoids anymore, as much because you're giving them to me. And the thing is that's where your THC receptors are. So it's like you have a lot less catchers, so you got to throw a lot more balls in order to get the same effect.
And I've been throwing a lot of balls in my head, man.
You're a ball hog.
I'm a ball
You're a ball
hog.
hog,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
it's just like trying to find that 1-2 receptor that you have left.
But what if throwing the same exact ball at that one point, so not like trying to like overexert it, but like keep feeding it, like gotta like
Just feed it balls on a regular.
Yeah, so
Microdosing, you mean?
Okay, I mean that would probably might be a word, but I mean if your tolerance is so low,
Would
like, why would you want to get so high? You
But-
know? And you want to just be high. You
That's why
wanna be,
microdose, like small little.
But would that microdose shut off a receptor?
it would.
That still would.
So you have to do just like
It's in or out, fellas.
You
short,
gotta take a break.
short. So I recommend short, frequent breaks. So instead of one long break, I recommend like every 3 months for 3 to 5 days.
I could do that.
I can't do that.
Because
I could do that.
what
I
it's
don't
gonna
want
do when you rest that receptor, your body is instantly like oh, I need to start making it again. So at first it's kind of like, maybe they're going to give it to me. I'm just going to chill. But after like a day, your body starts being like,
Oh, that's when you get super duper duper high when you go
cannot
back and
bluff
smoke.
your
yeah, that's when your
endocannabinoids.
body's like, no, okay. So I got to start producing,
Okay.
you know, making your own endocannabinoids. You know, and then, you know, by day 3 to 5 is when your body gets back up to kind of a normal production type level. But taking like regular breaks is one of, I think, the best.
I'm gonna
the
fucking
best
try
thing,
that.
right?
Would that work for
Just a
people
short
that
one.
have been smoking for like years and you're trying to weed off of it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be such
Instead
a
of just
dick
cold
for 3
turkey,
days.
probably,
I swear to
like,
God.
Dude,
And
have some
you
bad
know,
reaction.
you can use kind of other things, you know, so like you know, if you are like want to use plants,
Mhm.
right? You
Ava.
know, using ava, yeah.
a mix.
And because, you know, kava works on the exact same receptor as THC,
Oh shit!
but
I didn't know
because
that.
it's not THC, you know, your body it doesn't really. So you
Wow,
can
okay.
take it's a great
It's still numbing though.
alternative.
Yeah, it's like numbing. I guess that's the word.
Yeah.
Numbing.
It's numbing and you know, ava is like it's so relaxing because right, think about the effects because
Right.
whenever and I always think of like all those old like Samoan people sitting on the ground for like 6 hours drinking ava and I'm like, oh, that's how they do it.
Yeah.
Because
But they get messed
they're
up.
high on
Yeah.
ava
Yeah.
which is like being high on THC, right?
It's amazing how much people can consume ava based on how slow it grows.
right.
You
No.
would think that like they would burn through that resource already and like be ava-less by now in this generation, but fuck that.
No.
There's a lot of ava out there,
Which
man.
is good. There's
Yep.
a lot of, you know, like there's a lot of really good producers
Mm-hmm.
and Polynesia has some amazing farmers. So they like, so going back to cannabis there. So Samoa still hugely grown, but Tonga, they actually passed some like cool legislation to do education about the differences between hemp and marijuana.
Okay. Oh.
Set up a research on hemp,
Okay.
and then set up some policy for growing and trading it. Which, if hemp went to Polynesia as like, you know, an export, especially for like building material,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
really what I think they should, you know, like not only grow it but have some form of manufacturing because I
Yep.
feel like
Right.
oftentimes that's what we're
Because
we're
that creates
missing.
jobs and that like keep that
And make it a niche for them. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
creating textiles and hempcrete and all this different fucking applications
Yeah.
of this
Hempcrete
shit.
sounds dope.
It's
man.
so good.
The craziest thing. So, I wanted to ask, like, does anybody know what's the status of like the Farm Act? Because
Yeah.
that's the one that made like 99, like all 100% hemp products illegal or legal.
Legal. Yeah.
So
Including the Delta 8.
Delta, there was a
but they're
fucking
starting
boom
to make
of that
it
shit.
illegal
They
in
better.
jurisdictions. Ooh.
Well, well, in Hawaii, we're gonna have a flavor ban on all vapes and shit. So all that shit is out the window,
Well, I'm
bro.
gonna smoke it up.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, what was I talking about?
Farmers
The
Act.
Farmer Act.
Yeah, the Farm,
Farm
Act.
Act.
Yeah, so
Is that still like in act? Is that still
Yeah.
going, or did that get reversed?
no,
recent-
it's good. It's good. People, you know, that's why there's so much CBD and hemp, and the
mhm.
market is super flooded. But I think it's also too like going back to like manufacturing. You know, like they just are trying to mainly manufacture it for CBD.
Right.
But so much of the biomass can be used for like
But the infrastructure to process that and make all that
doesn't
stuff.
really exist.
See, people gotta. It needs to be shown that it's like.
Well, that's where the outside investors should come in instead of buying fucking real estate.
Yeah.
Do something for the people and put up a plant to process all these hemp. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah.
Thank
So-
you for staying on the mic, Kalei.
Hey, dude. I'm
You're
conscious.
doing a good job.
Hey. So where is your political stance on and I get asked this a lot with the farmers and the current movement to legalize.
Yeah.
Where's your stance on that, and where do you want to see it going for like farmers like me who's small,
Yeah.
but yet want to still stay relevant and possibly supply the public with their own craft material? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Hawaii. So back to Hawaii history. So Hawaii has passed some of the most like amazing advanced pieces in legislature, believe it or not, for cannabis. So we were the first to pass medical cannabis laws in 1978. So it was passed, signed by the governor, but it was never enacted. And that law is why we call it a 329 card now, because that was that, that's what that piece of legislation
Was it the bill, like
House
Bill 329?
Exactly. No, exactly. And that's why we have the 329 card. And then, of course, us passing, we're the first state to pass legalization through a legislative order, because before it was all just through voters, right?
Got you.
So two super progressive thing, and then we also passed legislation to protect people in federal housing.
Okay.
People with CPS and custody issues, and also for education. So, we have historically done some good things.
Gotcha.
So how I would, and in 2022, Hawaii passed its first social justice cannabis bill.
Okay.
So it was kind of a brainchild of the, Hawaii Cannabis Hui. And basically it's asking for a study done by, Drug Policy Forum.
Okay.
To do a study on basically equity and how it's been rolled out at other places, and looking mainly at a lot of like Native Hawaiians, Polynesians, and people who've been affected by the drug war.
Gotcha.
So social equity is interesting.
Would that lead to like reduced sentences for people who are currently incarcerated for cannabis convictions?
Yeah. So, like what we're seeing in other states is expungement of
Nice.
cannabis records. And honestly, I think people who are in prison for cannabis should be released. They should be released now.
Right.
Like not yesterday, not today. And Last Prisoner Project is one of the larger ones that kind of works with that. There's Freedom Project. There's a lot of kind of good places to plug in with that. But when it comes to social justice and equity, it really also comes down to farmers and micro licenses. And, in Hawaii, honestly focusing on, giving preference to Native Hawaiians, period.
Right.
Especially when we look at who has been affected by the war on drugs.
Yeah.
It's been, for cannabis, a majority of it has been, Native Hawaiians, Polynesians, and, people from the, Marshallese, Micronesians, right?
Right.
So, Pacifica.
So in a world where it's just like completely free, like a tomato,
Right.
is that all that possible still? Like giving preference to Hawaiians, keep like the micro licensing, like all these kind of like policies and stuff in a free capitalist society that we currently live in. Is that even possible? Like, or are just fucking Philip Morris just gonna roll in and be like, fuck you, we're buying all this land?
So
Could the state stop them
That's a
from
good
doing
Yes.
question. That's a fucking good
If-
question.
if
that? BJ
it-
Penn, could you do it?
Soup.
yeah.
Would you vote for him?
Want to be on the
don't know.
podcast, B Japan? Talk about it.
Nah.
Right?
Let's go.
No, but is that something that the state could do to like support the Hawaiian farmers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And so what we're seeing, so New York is going to be really interesting.
Okay.
Because
'Cause
New
they
York,
just went, yeah.
they just went adult use, and the first 100 licenses were only equity applicants.
Okay.
We also know that equity has been used to really exploit people as well. So I just read an article today about Steezy, basically, giving somebody a 6-figure income, but they have no say in their business, right? And that's what we're seeing with a lot of kind of equity applications. So it's like, how do we do it? Do it here, do it differently. And I think having a lower threshold, making it to where you have to have residency, paid taxes here for 5 years.
Amen.
And that's, also grandfathering in, people who already have hemp licenses, and making several points of entry into the cannabis space. So not just growers, not just retail, but manufacturing for like edibles,
Concentrates.
manufacturing for edibles, concentrates, also for delivery services.
Yes.
Things like this that can be done in the cannabis space with not like huge, with not having to have $2-3 million in capital.
Got you.
Mhm.
Got you. So you're basically saying small mom and pops shops could pop up that could navigate within that cannabis space, be legitimate businesses that could still work.
I think that it's possible. I think retail will be harder, but I
Gotcha.
think in the growing space, definitely in delivery,
Yep.
manufacturing, but also making sure that there's like funding for it. So that's more like the business side, which I don't really. I more focus on the people side of it.
Yes.
So like automatic expungements, but in a
Yes.
way that's easy.
Yeah.
California still is like over 80,000 people waiting for expungements from what?
Why does it take that long?
Because there was so they were like, hey, we're going to expunge it, but then it's different from county to county.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It should be like, all right, expunge next.
Yeah. No, so for some it was just automatic. For others, you would have to fill out a paper, and
Wow.
it wasn't really like well explained, right?
What about like releasing
Well-
expungement as far as incarceration goes?
So we have not seen that
Fuck.
on any
Right.
real
I would have
level.
thought there'd be like
Dude.
2 cases pop up where they're like,
There's-
this is such
Are there-
bullshit.
for sure.
Because
Yeah.
are there people in for solely for cannabis crimes, like where, I mean, they're not involved in, it's not related to some other crime, and like it's like a tacked on fucking
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
charge.
To have like a firearm in the car and be like, oh,
Right.
got you.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And so, like really, I think that will, and because, for people to have I have a prior cannabis charge, and I was able to get it expunged,
Nice.
but
Oh,
if
yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to get it expunged, it would have popped up every time. And so it's super important to have that, because it's always going to be so, you can't even work at a dispensary if you've had a cannabis offense. In
Well,
Hawaii.
yeah, that's some bullshit right
That's
there.
bullshit.
So is that like regulated? Is that like a rule?
Yeah.
Because that does sound like bullshit. Because like, I feel like it should be up to the employer. Like, yeah, I see it on your record, but whatever.
Well,
it was
the
fucking 20.
company's policy is like we can't hire you if you have a conviction of A through B and you fall on their fucking A and
I have a story for
you're
you.
done.
Yeah.
I was applying for a job one time. I won't say where, and
It's a gap.
I had to take a drug test, and I thought I passed. I got the job, and then I got pulled in by the manager who I knew from previous jobs. He's kind of like my mentor. He pulled me into his office, and he said, "You didn't pass your drug test, but I told them you were good, so they hired you. You better watch your ass." I mean, it was for weed. I wasn't doing any other drugs. But, like, so companies can bend policy. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that was just more of a homie thing where he just
Yeah.
like
Yeah, but
overlooked
everybody
it.
should be homies,
That's
right?
spooky though. What if it's family doing that for you? Then how do you feel after that?
What do you mean?
What you mean?
Like if it was family, you say it was your friend. What if it was like, oh, your uncle told you, hey, you never passed your drug test?
Yeah, I would
Oh,
Trash.
that's super cool too.
yeah, that's
Like,
fine.
Fucking
Yeah.
thanks,
Like,
Hunks.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks,
I
dude.
owe you
Shells,
one.
bro.
I'll buy you a case of beer.
Like, that,
Right?
that should be automatic.
No, like, so Hawaii's been trying to pass like protection in employment for medical
Nice.
cannabis patients for years.
Nice.
So currently there isn't any, right? Like,
So the last one died in 2020, but you know that's when all the COVID.
a lot of things died. in
Yeah,
2020.
so hopefully, hopefully can be resurrected.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in
And-
this next session, because it's
What?
important.
Like, who's the person who does that? Who brings that up in the legislation, I guess? Like, is it specific reps that are, like, down for this shit that are, like, the ones who resurrect a bill?
Yeah.
Or is it, like, the people got to fucking sign enough petition lines and, you know, and then they'll look at it?
Yeah, so I think a little combination of both.
Mm.
So Hawaii does have voter initiatives, but it's by county,
Oh,
right?
That's how they fucking make
that's
it.
how they get you, man. They divide it up. That's how they put a fucking fork in it, man.
Yeah.
Are there any, like, senators or representatives that are, like, pro-cannabis and, like, want to do these things?
Yeah.
Like, who are they?
so-
Shout them out, because if they're doing good shit, we should
I
fucking
know,
let them be
right?
known. Espinda. No.
Chris Lee.
Espiro.
So Chris Lee, Kailua
Chris Lee.
rep, introduced adult use bill.
Okay.
Got it passed through the Senate. So there was a lot of, which was great. It like went and died in the House, but he's always been someone that's been pretty supportive. And then I would say Capella, Rep Capella, Jeannie Capella. She's always been incredibly open about, like the fact that it's a plant and it's
Right.
still like
Duh.
grow up, like literally grow up, dude. It's embarrassing.
I wonder how many of these younger, like, newer, fresher, like,
Yeah.
representative senators feel that way, but maybe they just can't say anything yet because there's other people in their party, who fucking will say,
I
like,
wish you
shut
would
the
at
fuck
least
up.
elaborate to us, like, yo, dude, I can't fucking say anything.
Well,
Because...
but then they'd be saying it.
Yeah, but and at least like throw a little hint our way of like, okay, well, I understand.
Where's the
You're-
staffers dropping fucking leaks on that shit? Like,
Yeah.
hey, so-and-so is
Right.
actually down for cannabis shit. You just gotta
They're
fucking
into
get them
it.
to admit it. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think just looking at how they voted, right?
Mhm.
Like how, so like looking at people who, sponsored or supported, so
Bills.
Joy Buenaventura, really
Okay.
super senator from Puna District. And for the freshman House for Oahu, who have voted positively for cannabis, it's been House side, Rep Capella, Sunny Ganadin, and Adrian Tam. So
Okay.
freshmen, those were. So I think those are some of the younger, more progressive, and also from, it's like economic, it's social justice, it's how much money are we still spending on this?
Right.
How much money are we spending on this?
Right.
Talk about a waste.
Talk about a waste.
Can't even do their jobs right. I'm
Like,
not challenging them at all. I'm just saying,
I
Can you do it better?
as an honest critique of what I'm seeing out there.
As a taxpayer, you have the fucking right to say that
That's
shit.
true.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I do. I shouldn't feel so nervous to say it.
No, you speak your fucking mind, man.
right?
That's what the podcast's for. But yeah,
Well, not only that, you're just speaking your mind as a citizen, being like, yo, what's up?
I think it really just takes some industrious person or organization to show them all these things. Like maybe they just ignore all the facts.
Yeah.
You know, like all the other applications of it on the hemp side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then
I'm speaking for right now at this table is like the farmers, right?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of the farmers don't pay attention to this political
Yeah.
nuances that's happening. Like honestly, I'll be completely honest. Like Andrew, you know, Pacololo in Paradise.
Yeah.
He'll post a fucking bill. I'm like, I'll read it. Yo, dude, what does this mean?
Right,
You
you're
know,
like,
fuck, dude, there's a lot of big words in here. Like, there's nothing involving plants. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And that's like where me as a farmer, I get intimidated because like they're talking pretty much over my head, and I feel fucking stupid trying to read this thing. Like, I don't understand anything they're getting at. It's like words that pretty much just kind of dance around the point. Like, just tell us what you're doing. So fucking yay or nay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what's hard for us. And like, I think, you know, that's why I asked the questions of like, where do you stand on the whole, you know, farmer and thing? You said about like, they're part of the entity, and you know, we could be part of that free market in the economics, because a lot of us farmers, we want to rely on this as a crop to support our families. You know what I mean? So it's really important that, you know, we understand the bills that are coming out, one, and two, how does that going to influence the farmers, the small craft farmers that are really paying attention to what they're producing, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, this really at the beginning of the year, the cannabis hui was kind of brought in as a collective of really like farmers, you know, legal people, social justice, cannabis activists, just regular people. And you know, they're the ones that really helped to kind of push this forward, and we want to see the cannabis hui kind of become a center of where we go for you know, like our activism, because it's true. It's like, how do we make it like easily digestible and easy to understand, right?
Google translate it into like layman's terms for everyone to be able to.
100%. Like if you are yay or nay and you can see it, like, and me as a normal dude looking at it like, all right, this is what this means.
Yeah.
You'll get my coherent vote.
Yeah.
Like, I know exactly where you're getting at. You know, there's nothing hidden, nothing worded, weird, where it's like, all right, cool. Like, for me, I'll be honest, I'm fucking intimidated when I read that.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I hardly posted a decision or a opinion on Instagram, because I really got to sit down and read this shit over and over again to make sure I can get a educated response on this shit. You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't want to be like, yeah, fuck yeah, this bill's awesome. And at the end of the day, like, dude, Kalei's such an asshole. Like, did
never
he
read
know
him.
he's fucking,
Never read him
did he
good.
even read this shit? You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy, so I just kind of like, all right, I don't know.
And when they're doing like bills that have like negative consequences for a majority of the people, they use like wordplay to make it sound like one thing, and then they tell you vote no on this, but the bill sounds like it's like
right.
they use tricky language, and it does confuse people, and they inadvertently vote like not the way they intended, you know, when it comes to their beliefs on a certain
it's super
issue.
intimidating, because you're like, it's A or B, and you're like, fuck, I don't know, man. What is it? A is what I really want out of this? Like, what's happening here? Yeah. So if there's a way for someone to like translate it for the public to be like, hey, this is exactly what this bill means.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be for or against farmers, just put it out. You know what I mean? No agenda, no nothing. Just like, this is exactly what this means. That's where I would be like, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? More confident in my decisions.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think, you know, we try to do that as a clinic, but we try to only, it's one of the hardest things that has been going on in Hawaii recently is, you know, the main people who are passing and working on and writing legislation are the dispensaries.
Yes.
So, you know, all of their bills have been to really benefit them. So really,
one narrative. Yeah.
How have they been getting those passed? I mean, they're lobbying to the senators and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only ones that have, you know, the resources. They have a full-time lobbyist, you know, and And so, when it comes to cannabis, that, that's the majority of the voice being heard. So kind of the goal of the Cannabis Hui is we don't have money to get a lobbyist. We don't have the money to hire somebody full time, but what we can do is get people involved and have a voice.
Yes.
So Cannabis Hui on Instagram. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff and working still on, like equity. So now dual use. Have you guys seen those
dual use mean?
Those meetings? So dual use. So the state of Hawaii, one of the bills that passed was for the legislature to convene a working group to work on dual use. So adult and medical. So both.
Got you. Rec and medical would be functional together, right?
Yes.
Got you.
So it would be together, and so the task force will essentially create recommendations for the legislature, which will probably go on to be some form of policy, right?
Got you.
So they are having meetings that are open to the public. The next one I think is on Tuesday.
Okay.
A lot of people have been posting about it, but it's on Tuesday. It's at like noon to 1:30, which is like.
Is there a virtual option?
At that time.
And there's a virtual option.
Killer.
Should we can link it here?
Yeah.
And like link it in
This
the comments.
Right at the bottom.
This Tuesday,
Yeah.
this episode might come out after this Tuesday. This next
so
Tuesday,
we
yeah.
can put the link to the entire schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
And to the website and totally.
And we can post
in the,
about it too, and like
in the show
whatever
notes.
We can. Yeah.
The show notes.
The show notes.
Show notes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
On the
Show
YouTube
notes.
description and the podcast description, we can put links in there.
Yeah, because
Totally.
it's super important, especially for farmers,
Okay.
to have a voice. And if you can't testify in person or online at that time, you can still do written.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out, man.
I know. So it's
What's
it's important. It's a lot of important decisions that are going to be made.
Right.
For sure.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Well, that's the thing. Like, we got to get and that's what I want to use a shop to as an avenue to bring people that normally want to stay hidden,
Yeah.
kind of out, not so much in the spotlight, but as a voice. Like, it may not be a big significant voice, but if I could just round up people, even to have like a petition signed, or like, hey, this is the link to your testimony. It's anonymous. Get it out there because we want this to be. And, preceding that, if we were to have it to where like a layman's explanation, bill so-and-so, this is what it's talking about, and have the written bill next to it on a printout. That way they can read and verify exactly what the bill is about. Because, like, fuck, that shit's fucking, it scares me. Those big words, man. I'll have Erik come in and read it to me. Erik, what does this mean? You're
I'm
good.
dyslexic.
It's like sleepy ASMR when people read it, because it's so like you
Drony.
don't understand it, and so many that's like on purpose too.
Yeah.
So
They must have loved it during the pandemic when nobody could show up to like community
yeah.
meetings or board meetings, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And not give like live in-person testimony. Everything was on Zoom. They could just fucking mute their computer and be like, just watch you, like, not even listen to you.
It's so impersonal at that time,
Well, and during the pandemic also, though, is when, our legislature, and when really, a lot of the people in Hawaii crushed a really bad bill, because we had, like, for the first time over, like, 300 testimonies submitted to the legislature. And this was the one that was, allowing the dispensaries to expand. That was like the big part of it, but also, limiting the number of cards at a grow site, and having HPD do enforcement instead of DOH. And so it was actually, killed that year, but one of the things that's super important coming up in December of 2023 is, so right now, can I talk about patient transfers?
Yeah, you can talk about whatever you want.
Okay.
Just don't swear. No swearing.
No swearing. So patient
Fuck you, Slinger.
fuck you, Slinger. So just real quick, patient transfers are totally legal in the state of Hawaii. Like,
Elaborate on patient transfers.
Yeah.
so a patient transfer is, this is mine, Kalei. I am gonna give this to you,
Well, thank you. Great job.
and you can reimburse me if you want for my labor,
Mm-hmm.
for the cost of my fertilizer, for the cost of my soil, for the cost of producing this, for the production,
How much is your overhead for this
right?
sample?
I know. I don't know.
Okay.
Hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically, could I ask you that question?
Yeah.
I
And
gotcha.
so, like right now, this is not illegal. This is also not illegal. I made this brownie at home. It has cannabis in it. I am going to give it to you for an
I
exchange.
love edibles.
It's a patient to a patient transfer.
Okay.
So currently it's totally legal. There's no language that makes that not allowed. Okay?
Keyword being patient to patient
Transfer.
transfer.
Yes.
But patient to patient.
To patient.
Yeah.
Patient to patient transfer is in the state of Hawaii.
Can I be brother to brother kind?
Right. Patient to patient.
Yeah.
329 card holder to 329 card holder.
Right.
And that's everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for butane, because butane
One
products.
question.
Yeah.
You raised your hand.
I know, right?
I had to. I felt it was necessary. How much quantity can I donate to you and transfer to you?
Right.
Cardholder to cardholder. Is there any set quantity?
So the possession limit in the state is 4 ounces
Gotcha.
per person, right? Per card, you can have 4 ounces of prepared cannabis or the equivalent.
Gotcha.
But so right now, totally fine. So, that's why, we did the 329 card holder, the 329 event in Kalei to really flex that, because it's 100% legal.
Gotcha.
Legal. But
That is a flex.
that's a flex. But, in 2023, it is only going to be, you can grow up for yourself or buy it from a dispensary. So it makes all of this that's been legal, it's been
Go away.
protected, go away.
And who's trying to get this bill passed?
I mean, it's passed. It's going to go into
that's when it goes
effect.
into effect.
So this is not good.
And there's nothing anyone can do about it at this point. Huli the system.
Well, huli the system, but also,
You gotta keep the system intact at the same time.
yeah.
You just huli that thing.
I
You're
don't
like,
know.
oh,
I'll tell
Yeah.
you the reality of it.
I
is-
have a very different approach to huliing the system.
well, the
Yeah.
reality of it, BM is going to take off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's going to make everything. It's like when... Fuck, I was trying to think of an analogy. I can't
So
think of
if I'm, hypothetically, if I'm growing for myself, right?
Yeah.
And I'm asking the questions the people on live are pretty much asking. Not like physically
Yeah,
asking,
yeah.
but they're thinking this shit. So if I have my garden at home, right, I'm growing for myself, which is the 10 plant count.
Yeah.
If I essentially grow monsters,
Yeah.
right, and I'm putting out multiple pounds, at one point in time in my BM, if I'm drying and curing in stages where I'm
Right.
jarring a quarter pound at a time, at what point in time am I'm still legal technically, correct?
Anything under 4 ounces is legal.
Okay. dried and cured and
Prepared.
prepared.
Can I throw a
Meaning
question out there?
in the jar, not hanging up on my cloth.
Correct. So when they like figure in weights, it's like not the leaf. So they got that taken out
That's good
because they were trying to do that.
That's another question. Yeah, that popped up. too,
Yeah,
like,
no, they're
fucking-
so
all right,
no.
all right.
So they
Let's pull this plant with all this soil
So-
on it.
Yeah,
still.
let's weigh it.
yeah.
They should do that, right? The first time
nuts,
they'd
for
weigh
sure.
your fucking plant with the pot.
yeah, no, it's trash.
Dude, if you just watered your plant, you're fucked.
Super fucked.
Well, you're
And
fucked
it's
anyway
trash.
because the weight of the fucking pot is
But if
way
you
more.
water it,
Yeah.
well, you got water with the pot.
I mean, you're already fucked. So it's like, are you more fucked?
I think it's up to your charges is what the weight you got.
It's like
dude.
like a speeding ticket. Like the more over you are, the worse it is.
Yeah.
Ugh. I hate
Well,
those kind of laws.
I mean, and the type of laws we need are where cannabis is the lowest priority.
yeah,
Everyone can grow like 6 plants, like California,
right.
and it's a misdemeanor
Mm-hmm.
if you have a lot. I don't know what a lot is. We haven't defined a lot, but if you have like, an excess, it's a misdemeanor.
It's
That's-
crazy how like the federal government's like recognizes 99 plants. Is that still in effect?
For California? Or
No, just like federally, like 99 plants. I was hearing that like.
I don't know what that's for. Is that for hemp?
I have no fucking clue because I remember guys like, well, federally we're still legal. I'm like, how so? It's like
No.
federally. I was like, well, I
What?
mean, doesn't the state enforce it? So, well, federal supersedes the state, which is like, politically, I don't fucking know. So like,
That's
I
true.
can't
No, that's
rebuttal.
true.
You know,
That's true. That's why it's still illegal federally. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, and you can't, there's no interstate commerce of it
oh shit,
because
okay.
of the feds.
Federal.
But it's legal. So this is where the state law and we're seeing that like, for instance with other laws, but for cannabis, it's state to state.
Gotcha.
California, it's like county to county. That's why they have so much weirdness.
Yeah. man.
it's like they went further and the state was like, we don't even want to deal with it. You
Yeah,
guys deal with it.
You do, yeah. So, but Hawaii, I mean, like, we are like really not just the national, we're like an internationally famous
Yes.
spot for cannabis.
No, yeah, totally. That's what I said the other time too. Is like, I often forget that Hawaii is a pillar when it comes
Yeah.
to the cannabis like industry worldwide. Hawaii is like one of these places that everybody knows. You know what I mean? Hawaii.
It's the
Konako,
microclimates that
Maui,
we have.
Waui, all this
But
shit.
not only that, because like how she says that shit kind of goes out the window because cannabis was introduced way before that. So
Yeah.
like that's just tourist weed coming in that acclimated to our environment, right? So we've been fucking around with it. So that kind of throws a lot of theories off of like
So what made Hawaii such such a standout location for cannabis?
it's the geographical location, and I think now we've been fucking with it longer than we intended, than we anticipated. Like our history with it goes back further. So I think like the OGs who finally got good genetics in their hands knew exactly what to do with it. You know?
Yeah.
Like no wonder we're at the point we're at. It's because our history goes back further than we might have anticipated.
So
Yeah.
Joey Green goes, Maui Waui and Kona Gold are 60 years of branding.
Right? Yeah.
It's true,
I fall
right?
for it.
No, for real. For real.
Fuck yeah, Joey.
And, probably, some of those genetics, we probably see with like our Molokai friends. I think that's probably the closest to what it was.
The time capsule of Molokai, man.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
literally it's a cannabis time capsule. And when
Yep.
you use it, it's so different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
like a lot of people, shout out to Pakalolo Seeds, by
Yeah.
I
the
was
way.
gonna
Mike
say, shout
and
out to
Bongi.
Bongi.
Fucking that isolation did them good.
so good.
Yeah, so like we talk about commerce. The people in Molokai were so self-sufficient. They stayed there. They hunt. They fish. They love the land there. So, fuck if I'm gonna get cannabis outside, I got it right here from
Yeah.
my uncle, and that genetics just kind of stayed in that closed loop of Molokai and just got better and better and better, and like
Yep.
got easier to grow with the generations to come. Awesome.
And I think that's what's also going down in Samoa and Tonga too. Samoa has some
Yeah.
major weed growers.
Whoa.
Yeah, but it looks different. Like
Yeah.
even the pictures of it, when you see it, you're like, what in the heck? You know,
Right.
my uncle was a prolific grower.
Huh.
And they would, like, all the uncles would get together and, like, you know, like, basically what kind of shit does it grow better in?
Right.
And that's
They had their own little cannabis
they had
hui.
their own little cannabis hui. And
Yeah.
it was, you know, it kind of driven underground, but it's, you know, still throughout Polynesia, the most used illicit substance, and it's not imported.
Mhm.
So where are they getting it? They're growing it.
Yes.
How big is Samoa compared, like, geographically to, like, like Oahu or Maui or like the Big Island?
So probably, you know, like Tutuila, little smaller than Oahu.
Okay.
Hawaii.
Okay.
Nice.
But like Upolu and Savaii, probably like Maui.
Okay.
Little bigger. And so those are like the independent, you know, because Savaii and Upolu are, so they were colonized first by Germany and then by New Zealand, and now they're independent.
Mm-hmm.
And then America and Samoa, so we are like a territory.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we have we have like a, you know, like a governor, but everything is still decided by the fono. So it's like the village chief, the chiefs, you know, it's like we still, you know, have our government system.
You know, with that government system set up, when they approach cannabis, it becomes the chief's ideology on cannabis to make the final approval. Correct?
Yeah.
And I know this kind of be a blanket statement. Does that decision heavily weigh on the economic side of it or the moral side of it when it comes down to the individual families?
So I think it is the moral side because for so long the churches were against it.
Okay.
But now, you know, I think as we see, like, because, you know, the Catholic Church has made statements that they support it for medical use, as well as the Mormon Church.
No way.
So you can still have your
you can be
temple
able to
recommend.
You can be able to smoke
You mean
weed
to tell me
in
I
Utah
can't have
before
a
you can
fucking
drink?
cup of coffee while
Yeah.
I smoke weed?
You can smoke weed if
Medical.
you have a medical card.
Yeah.
So I have like Relief Society presidents, people in the elders quorums, returned
Cool.
missionaries. I'm popular in Laie.
Yeah. That's where all my family's from, man. Shout out to
Same.
No, and I really think that, like, as the younger generation move into these political spots, their mindset is already different growing up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So as they get in, they might be like, these laws are bullshit. You know what I mean? Let this shit go.
They're so dumb. And, you know, but I have hope because of the church that Samoa, Tonga, some of these, and and they're coming along. And the princess of Tonga, her husband got busted bringing in hemp seeds to Tonga.
God bless his soul.
So I was like, you're the hero in this story.
It's a sacred plant. It's a fucking.
Really
It's a sacred
is.
plant. God created it. Like, what more do you want us to display that it's not fucking bad for any religion to embrace? It's not harmful. It's not. I mean, the Catholics use wine as a sacrament.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people got fucked up off the blood of Christ? You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, it was okay for Catholics to drink.
Yeah.
It was part of their church ceremony. It's stupid to say that this ain't. You know what I mean? Like, if the moralities of a chief would sit back and look and be like, hey, you know what? We've been doing this shit all along as a religious practice. It's a medical practice now, and I think we should bring it on. Think about it, yeah?
When they used to walk down the aisle swinging that shit with smoke coming out of it, they used to put cannabis in there back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Why not? Everyone's coughing down the aisle as you're fucking swinging that.
No, yeah, it used to be like a shamanistic plant. You know what I
Right.
mean? And a lot of religion is based off old shamanistic traditions.
It still is a shamanistic plant. Like, people,
Absolutely.
this day and age, like, I'm so happy to see a lot of people's stigma change and a lot of people's mentality change to more of like, all right, I can incorporate this to my life. Yeah, I love that, man.
No, for sure.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's beautiful. It's definitely a spiritual. Cannabis is a psychedelic.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah. So is mushrooms.
Right?
We like that shit too. You know?
Yeah, nobody's debating mushrooms. Though,
Yeah, I'm dude. Like this two. Like if you're to argue these two gifts that we've gotten,
Right.
I mean, it's an open and shut case. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see any rebuttal anybody could have towards the therapeutic benefits of mushrooms and cannabis. Like,
Yeah.
Dude, come at me with whatever you got. Like, I'll fucking shut you down.
No, for real.
So being in the field you're in and seeing these patients walk through your door, what is the...
Yeah, we never even talk about Malie Cannabis
I know,
Clinic.
right?
No, you just... And people are like, dude, she's dropping so much knowledge.
Why?
It's crazy.
Why don't we call cannabis like Paka Malie instead of Paka Lolo?
Right?
Right? Isn't that like a more...
Makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it's a much more appropriate.
Yeah. It rolls off the tongue a lot better, too, than like Pakalolo.
Pakamalile.
Pakamalie.
So for our people listening in the mainland or watching in the mainland, what does Malie mean for those people not listening who don't know?
So it means calm, tranquil, and serene.
Mhm.
But it's a word that I chose because, in Polynesia, we have shared words, right? Like Ava is Ava is Ava,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It's all of our languages, right?
Yep.
So Malie means the same thing in all of our languages.
Mm.
So in Samoan, in Tongan, Tahitian, like it's one of our shared words.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it has a very similar meaning in all of them. Like in Samoan, it's also to, it's good and, it's like a very positive word.
Mhm.
And so that's really why I wanted to use it,
Right.
and because this plant, it's truly the healing of the nation. And I say it all the time, cannabis can save the world. It's
Staring at us right in front of our faces. Like, how the fuck are we not wanted to? Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, shout out to Joey. He's talking about people getting treated for cannabis, and he said he was a 3-time cancer survivor.
Yeah.
Which is fucking amazing. Like, shout out, buddy.
Yeah.
So at your clinic, what are you guys like focusing on primarily?
So, we do certifications, but with the certifications, we also do kind of like recommendations based on symptoms and kind of like clinical applications because, everybody has a unique endocannabinoid system, and you're not going to necessarily know until you try it, but just giving people a good place to start. Sorry, I bumped your phone.
No, you're fine.
I'm like, right. And like also just creating like an environment that's really comfortable for all ages. My youngest patient is 3 months old and my oldest patient's 103. Right? And
yes.
I've dosed
A
all
vast
of them.
demographic. Yeah.
And that's what we do is we dose them with like cannabinoids based on, because it's different, right? Like if you're wanting it for sleep, if you're wanting it for PTSD symptoms, I can definitely steer you in the right direction as to where to start.
Mhm.
Right?
And you're there to support them as they try different things to find their perfect.
Yeah. And so usually, with like the first time you see us, we go through like really like, it's kind of like you're here for PTSD and you really want it to help you sleep. And then if it's for sleep, do you have trouble falling asleep? Do you have trouble staying asleep? Right.
Right. Case by case basis. Right.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, some people don't want to smoke it. So then it's like, these different types of alternatives.
Yes.
But I really hope that we get to a place where people stop stigmatizing smoking it, because it's really, it's one of the most effective. And other than temporary cough, sore throat, it avoids a lot of other potential side effects and drug interactions. And
in case you're taking other prescribed medications. I
yeah,
never really thought about that.
because
Me
they
neither. That's
all
insane.
go in your liver, right?
Right. And that's where it's processed when you eat it.
It
Just
is.
callous up that throat, man.
For some reason, I just thought like people who are turning to medical cannabis in that sense have maybe abandoned, pharmaceuticals at that point. But yeah, that's a good point.
Like
They
a
might
high
be-
blood pressure medicine.
Yeah, something you can't
Yeah.
abandon.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's like also like looking at
Psych
what
meds.
medicines you're on and being like, oh, this is, because if people are on like, if they're having like a lot of, liver issues, it's not gonna hurt them, but it might not be as effective if they eat it, right?
Because their liver can't even do the
Because
work.
their liver, it might like, eat it up or make it last a really, really long time too.
Oh,
And that's what like separates you from all the other like people out there that are giving medical cards. Is like I've been to a lot of doctors,
Yeah.
and like very few of them actually sit down and be like, "Hey, let's design a plan that'll
Yeah.
help you navigate cannabis." Like,
Yeah.
okay, are you a smoker? You're not. What's your symptoms? Like. It sounds to me like I would trust your opinion and going into your office and sitting down way more than anybody else because of that individual care. You know what I mean? It sounds like, oh, here's your fucking license. It's up to you, buddy. Aloha.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, all right, so you have PTSD, falling asleep versus staying asleep. You're a smoker, non-smoker, all that kind of stuff. Like that really fucking counts, man. That's part of the whole experience of seeing a healthcare professional is getting it dialed into a custom plan to where it responds with me the best. How many times I go to fucking Straub and they're like, let me look at you. All right, here's a prescription. You're good.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you didn't do any tests. Like, what if I'm reactive to the drug you're giving me? Like, you just asked me what are my allergies. Like, we don't know that that's a fucking brand new medicine that just came into your office. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to react to that. So, like, coming into your office, you're like, all right, let's tailor fit this experience to you. And that's what's like, I would fucking go over you 10 times out of 10,
Well,
Yeah.
I think you do.
Yeah.
There are a lot of those kind of like, yeah, you feel bad. Here's your card kind of spots, that just like turn and burn out.
I'm not going to throw
Okay.
anyone under the
Nah,
bus,
yeah.
but at the same time, it's like, I've went to those doctors. They're like, all right, there you go. Pay me my money. Here's your card.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now what? For me, that's totally fine because I
Go
know
buy
what
your
I'm
weed.
doing.
That's
right.
right.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, go to the dispensary. Here you go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I know what's up with that. And I know the economy behind that. And the doctor wants to make money, blah, 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 blah. But, like, this is a fucking medicine. We need to approach it as such. You know what I mean? It's not a black market street drug. It's not an economic incentive. It's now you're dealing with people with fucking issues, and they're trusting you and your professional opinion and like, how do I treat myself? Because this is alien to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And you want people to have a good experience.
100%.
Like, because
100%.
there's so many people who've had a bad experience who then like never want to use it again.
Right.
I hear that every day.
Right.
Like, I used it when I was 16, had a really, really bad experience. I ate a brownie. You know what I'm saying? And it's most often with edibles or people just smoked too much in one sitting.
Yes.
Right.
My mom.
Yeah.
She's like, let me take that bong rip. I was like, wait.
You're like, no.
She's like, everyone's looking at me. Ah! I'm like, oh, mommy just smoked too much weed. It'll go away soon.
Yeah. And
Right.
and then also letting people know what to do if that happens.
Right.
Because it's going to happen at least once,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more.
Right.
Right? You just need to sit down, drink some water, just wait.
Chill.
We have
I
CBD gummies here. for
Yeah,
any
it's
guests who
CBD
might
for
go
that.
over the edge. Yeah.
had a couple.
I feel
Right?
like for me though, it's like a 10 milligram CBD gummy isn't enough. Like I need to eat like 10 of them. Like I want like 100 milligrams of CBD to. Like,
I think it's more so the
bring me
munchies
back.
of eating a gummy.
Nah, I'd rather it just be 100 milligram gummy one time. That'd
Yeah?
be cool.
What's the proper dosage of a CBD?
So CBD, it's good because we actually have some kind of dosing parameters.
Got you.
So CBD is marketed 100% wrong. They want you to think it's like THC, that you can just use it here and there and it'll help. But really, CBD needs to be used consistently, more like a vitamin.
To get like into the
And
cycle of using it.
Yeah, and it works over time through couple of different things, but for pain, it's gonna decrease your inflammation. So you know how inflammation creates so the two things that it works on is cytokines, and prostaglandins. So those are two big fancy words, but those are also like ibuprofen works with like prostaglandins, but cannabis is way better and it's much safer. So it does the similar CBD.
Yeah.
Yes.
Specifically,
Yes.
So if
does the same thing.
And if you're taking it like on a daily basis, like what is a proper milligram dosage?
Yeah,
on a
so
daily
for
basis?
most people, it's like 10 to 25 milligrams.
Yeah.
And you want to take it every day, and it's going to be one of those things to where you'll be like week 5 and you're like, oh, I haven't taken Tylenol for like a week and a half.
Right,
It's like more like that. It's more subtle.
But can it be like an emergency parachute in those times when
Absolutely.
you're too high? Like just take just eat all these CBD or take some tincture or something.
The way that it works for that is, so say that this is your receptor for THC.
Right.
CBD is just gonna cover it. So as
Yeah.
it's like hitting it, it can't get in.
Yeah.
So
Gives your
it blocks it.
So you
Gives
can't
you a
get
break.
more high, but do you sober up?
It helps to block it, so you're not going to get more high from it.
right.
Okay. So you're pretty
And-
much, it'll plateau you.
It'll plateau you and it'll
Gotcha.
start to bring you down.
Here's a question: if the CBD wears off before the THC does, will you fucking
Get back higher?
get punched back in the stomach again later? and be
Probably
like, oh,
not
shit.
necessarily, because the
like
way that THC works, it's like most drugs, how they work is you take it in, like 20 minutes, it's at its peak effect, right? And then it slowly
Wanes,
goes down.
yeah.
THC is different on how you use it, right?
Okay.
You smoke it, boop,
Yeah.
and then kind of fades out pretty quickly,
Right.
right? Within an hour-ish, it's kind of like, it's more of a sharp curve.
Right.
When you're doing edibles, it's more of a
Blunt.
And then through the ceiling,
What?
you get hit by a plane,
Yeah.
Until you fall asleep.
Yeah.
flying
Right.
in the clouds.
Right.
So, but edibles, don't work for all people, because some people metabolize it really quickly. I mean, we all have that friend who's like, I take 1,000 milligrams all the time and I don't feel anything.
Fuck yeah.
Well, stop doing that, and you're wasting.
Yeah, exactly.
Give it to someone else.
Give it to somebody else and just smoke,
Yeah,
because you're really rapid. So basically, because it's metabolized in your liver, their liver is eating it all up before it even goes out into your bloodstream.
Would you say that's more of an efficient working liver or an inefficient working liver?
It's more just how you are as an individual.
Got you. Because I'm like fucking super sensitive to fucking edibles, but my
Yeah.
boy can like smash them. Like,
It's probably why.
how
Tell
the
him stop wasting.
fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
We all have that one friend where you're like, I would not be on this planet.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm always like trying to stay awake, and he's like just up. I'm like, you high? He's like, not really. I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah. And there's no rhyme or reason. It's not like age. It's not weight. I have like little
He's
grandma.
tiny.
Yeah. It's literally, so you can take a really big, expensive genetics test and maybe have kind of an idea, or, you can just instead slowly
Right.
increase and not have a horrible experience.
That's more practical.
It's way.
It's
way
probably like,
better.
you know how those people in Europe have that proteins where they can process milk at a later age?
right?
It's like, it's probably like a genetic disposition. Like, dude, you can handle some fucking massive amounts of THC.
No,
I don't know
for
how he
real.
does it. He's a fucking tank, man.
It's like the same reason why, Polynesians, a lot of them are lactose intolerant, right?
Right?
Asians and
Asians and Polynesians,
because there's not a lot of milk in their
Bro.
diet. They didn't have
Right.
dairy.
As soon as I hit 30, I became like super lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
I was like, that sucks.
So
I love
annoying.
milk.
One theory is that because domesticated cattle has only been introduced, however many hundreds of years ago,
Right.
and
Sense.
the human digestive system hasn't had time to adapt to it. Some have already, but ones who haven't incorporated it into daily diet haven't really
Right.
got it.
I wonder how
I'm a-
beef attacks their digestive tract also.
I don't know. As I've gotten older, I've become more lactose intolerant, but for certain things, I'll fucking suffer.
Same, dude.
Like, I'll take it.
Same. I'm like, I don't care.
Yep.
I'm home tonight. It's
Yeah.
all good.
I'm the brownie guy, like a nice warm brownie and a cold glass of milk. I'm like,
Yeah.
fucking, you got me.
No,
You got me.
it's
Like a weed
over.
brownie or just a regular brownie?
No weed brownie, just
Yeah,
a regular
no.
brownie. Yeah.
I really love these like gourmet infused desserts that we've been fucking eating. lately.
Shout out to
So
Solidify Hawaii, man. So we met this couple, Moki and Kanani, and they've been giving us edibles, like just out of the goodness of their heart, just coming by the shop.
patient to patient transfer.
Transfers?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Awesome.
I like to call
Love
it blessings, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Yes, it was fucking unreal. They got us so high a couple times.
Like the days of just weed brownies are done. Like now it's like
Oh, she makes
whatever
like,
you want. Dessert
strawberry
weed.
shortcakes
It's
and
amazing.
like. I was like, dude, you gotta tone it down on the potency because I want to eat a lot of it, you know?
Right.
It's horrible. It's torture, man. So
Yeah.
she did it.
I said that too, and I think they took it as like it's too strong. It's like no, I don't want it too strong. Like I want more. I want strong, but
It just
just
tastes
like
too good.
yeah.
Right.
the
You're like,
thing.
I just want to eat more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, try to make some virgin ones that way I can eat them and not like fucking. I can remember them the next day.
Right?
Because like, what did I eat? Holy shit! I look at the wrapper. Oh yeah, that was caramel. It was fucking shout
Like,
out.
it was so
Solidify.
good.
That's another industry that would boom once it's legal.
Yeah.
Is just this like bakery.
Yeah,
Well,
no, for
like
sure.
Vanessa did it well, right? And the whole Vice, the Weedicat.
Yeah.
No, where they cook with the show, that cooking
Oh,
show.
Bong Appetit.
yeah,
Bon
Bon
Appetit.
Appetit.
Yeah, like
I love that
she
show.
is so cutting edge because her desserts are fucking unreal.
Yeah.
And, like,
And the way they're just like, we're gonna use just leaves to smoke mozzarella, so it tastes like weed.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
part's not even infused. It's just like using it as all these different, probably for the entourage effect, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and for the
it's
flavor.
property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're transferring terpenes via this. No, would that work?
I
don't
mean,
know.
I'm sure it
Talking
does
out
in
of my
some
ass.
sort
Yeah.
of sense, but if you think about it, it looks pretty. They'll use a leaf. It's cannabis in its raw form. Its icon is its leaf. Everyone gets
Yeah.
tattooed of a leaf on them, right? There you go.
They make tortillas with like the leaves pressed in, so that way
Oh,
it's like
so
all in that
pretty.
shit.
the tempura, the leaf tempura.
Oh
where
my
they fry
gosh,
it.
yeah.
Oh, what?
There was a weed cooking competition show on Netflix.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, there's plenty.
Chef
Cooking on
Maverick
High,
was on
Cooking on
it.
High.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, like all these guys think about the restaurant
Yeah.
industry and how volatile it is, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you can open a restaurant and it'll be closed a year
Yeah.
later. So now they got the infusion to fall back on. It's like, oh, this guy makes his infusion is on point. So I know that I'm gonna get high and I'm gonna fucking taste good and I won't get too high. Like
Yeah.
tailor-made experience. So now it gives this fucking avenue for bakers, even chefs, to make infusions and how display their culinary art.
For
And
sure.
having to people that can appreciate it now, which is like stoners like us, who are
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna get high, but
And
I'm
like
gonna
you
eat
said,
good
have
food,
and like you said, have virgin versions,
yeah, virgin versions.
so that way other people can just enjoy the food. Because if you're like a world-renowned chef, like people are gonna want to eat your food. Maybe they don't want to get high, but they still want to eat your shit.
yeah, but
so.
see, the icebreaker is the infusion dinner, right? So if you're
Yeah.
a breakout chef, or you had a chef, you're a chef that your restaurant went down. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm fucking, cater. You cater this meal, people have a good time, a blast. I'm like, this is awesome food. Next thing you know, they're calling you up for catering, not for infusion, because you've done such a
Yeah.
good job. Like Topher. I call that
Yeah.
motherfucker up just to cook for me. Like, dude, how much is it? Oh, it's gonna be this much. Got you.
Yeah.
Please come
Please
cook.
come.
You don't have to
Yeah.
infuse anything, dude. Just cook. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Topher's great too because he does so much like side,
Yes.
you know, like it's on the side, it's in a dropper, so you know the exact dosing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's
Precise.
and his food is amazing.
Mad scientist level.
And I like the way he plays with it too.
Yeah, it's so
not like,
fun.
oh, I like this because it's savory. It's like it's savory, but I'm cooking in a smoky, sweet way. So you get
Right?
all these different flavors that come out of his shit. Fucking shout out to Topher again.
Yeah,
Again.
we love you, Topher.
Good shit. Good shit, Topher. You know you're super good when you can come on the podcast like twice, not say shit, and people still shout you out, man.
Right?
So good. But I feel that there's a lot of people like that out. You know, a lot of people have that passion to cook, and you know, the weed and the infusion is going to be their breakout. It's going to be
for
something
sure.
like, hey, you know, I can do this just because my infusions are bomb. Wait till you sample my real cooking, you know?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. All you gotta do is take the infusions out, and the food is still the same.
Hell
And it's
yeah.
bomb. Yeah.
But to the demographic, we
imagine-
probably wouldn't have gotten there without cannabis. I wouldn't have met Topher without cannabis. you know?
Right?
So it's that avenue, bro.
But like, yeah, imagine you open a restaurant and you only do infused food. Like, you're cutting out half or that demographic who don't want to get high.
Well,
You
you
know what I
have
mean?
just
So-
like a virgin Bloody Mary.
Yeah, you just
Or
or you do it like
vegan
Topher,
Bloody
you put it on the side.
Yeah. It's like Downbeat Diner, which is now called The Other
Oh,
Side, where they have like diner food, but they have like vegan versions of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's like burgers and like all the same flavors of that burger with just like the fake meat patty and like vegan cheese.
I like
and
how you
vegan
said
mayonnaise.
fake meat patty.
Well, that's what it
Impossible.
is.
Impossible patty.
Nah, I don't know if they have the branding for that. It's probably like
oh, okay. I see
some
what
like
you mean.
homemade black bean burger.
Totally.
I don't know, but yeah, it's good though. That's cool because like you can go there with like a bunch of people who
Yeah.
want vegan or vegetarian and meat.
You know, I gotta
And it's
say,
like greasy diner food. It's
I
like,
thought
oh,
about
so
you when
good.
I ordered
Love
this.
it. Delicious.
There was a black bean loco moco and a hamburger patty made with black bean.
Oh.
It was pretty good, man. I give
The
you
egg,
that.
though.
Where was it?
Fuck, I forgot the place. I door dashed it and I was like, oh, that looks good. Eric would like this, and I ordered it, and it was fucking bomb. Thanks, man.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be seeing
There-
it.
There was brown gravy and eggs though, so
Yeah.
I couldn't take full credit for it. But the beef patty was black beans.
Yeah.
Bro.
Nah, they make fucking good mushroom gravy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Legit.
And you just saute some onions in and just kind of try to recreate the flavors. Oh, good. That's what Topher is for. He can do all that shit.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
man.
What is that now? Is that from Captain Mike?
No,
No.
This is actually Professor P's blueberry. So we'll roll one up of that later.
Grown by the captain later. We've already been going for like 2.5 hours, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's been 2.5 hours.
Anu. Yeah, about 2.5 now?
He says 30 minutes.
2 hours? He texted me like 30 minutes ago. 2 hours.
Did I? 2 hours.
I
ago?
like that though. That nuanced text.
You guys didn't even notice, huh?
I know, we're just all like
I didn't notice either.
I got it on film.
People are watching, and like I can tell that like a lot of people are really into it. They got a lot of compliments on the information you're putting out, and they're like,
The time goes by fast.
Tell
We're
you
just all
thank
like
you.
voila out.
that's what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, that's the point. Yep, that's
I
totally
like
the-
that.
But yeah, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. We're about there.
Dang.
I think we covered a lot in the 2.5 hours, man.
My
I
mind
mean,
is blown right now.
fuck yeah, for real, man.
You see that joint you're lighting right now? That's my brain. right
That's your
there.
brain.
My brain. Hot fire.
Don't feed into the stigma, Anu.
Yeah.
God damn it, we work too hard.
Ah.
Right?
I'm trying to break the stigma. You know what I mean? Okay. When you're provided the knowledge, then that's when you break the stigma.
Education is key.
No, for sure. And just like normalization. Like when I was at like Highway Inn down the street, and this auntie saw my necklace. It was so cute, and she was like, "Oh, I like your Malie necklace," and winked at me, and I was like,
You like what?
I was like, "Oh, thanks, auntie." And just getting those, I get that a lot throughout town. Just like, you know, just really making cannabis normal. It's so
You've been
the
trying
war
to
on
do
drugs
that.
did a really good job.
Sarcastically?
they did a really good job to create so much stigma around a plant.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, 100%.
100%. But
It made it look bad.
it made it, yeah, like Schoolhouse Special. But really, yeah.
I like that word though, normalizing, like bringing it back. It wasn't lost. We just gotta normalize it again.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, the next generation. So like my daughters, you know, our
For sure.
kids. Like when I talk to her about it, never like I tell her like, okay, this can get you into trouble
Yeah.
because people view it in a negative manner. And I ask her, what's your view on it?
Yeah.
Well, I'd see it helps you, Dad. In
Yeah.
what manner? Like you have back problems, and when you get cranky, you smoke it and you feel better. I'm like, that's honest, you know, and that's her observation from me using this plant. So at some sort of time, it clicks in her head that like, it's not bad what Daddy's doing. It is medicine. And I reiterate to her, it's medicine. It's nothing to do with a drug, because that's what they'll teach you in the DARE programs. You know, we've all been through that shit, and they say it's a drug. It's drug abuse resistance education, right?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, man. You should have left that chapter out.
That was
Dude.
like our entire elementary school life, dude. Dare.
In the, like, I remember in the 90s too, when they would have DARE, they would like roll up in like confiscated drug dealer cars. And I would be like, dude, that car's actually dope. I don't know. You tried to like turn me off of it, or
All the kids are like, damn.
I like right in the back. I like right in the back.
like what? That's a Camaro? No.
It's
But for
almost
real,
like
I
they
remember they used to
exposed-
do that.
They educated you, but not in the way they intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Or
Yeah.
did they?
Like, this is what you can get. Don't be a drug dealer. The
Don't
guy's
be a drug
balling
dealer.
in his car, like, do I not want to be a drug dealer? Yeah. It's so fucking funny, man.
Yeah.
I
it
think
was-
in Hawaii, in Dare though was primarily focused on like batu though and like meth.
I don't know,
yeah.
man. I remember the cannabis chapter's pretty
I
fucking
don't remember
well.
any of that shit. I
It was
just
the
remember
longest
like
chapter, I think, was the cannabis chapter.
Really?
Yes, it was.
Really?
Yeah,
It was.
They had so much information already built up around it. Not so much with
You're
all
right.
the harder drugs, because, I mean, shy away from the hard drugs. Focus on this.
Shout out
this,
to
'cause-
Officer Ford. You're just trying to do your job, buddy. I love you.
Right. We love you.
Yeah.
But-
Thank you for trying to protect me.
Right, but
Dare didn't work because I don't remember it.
But then
so
they,
it had
lead, they
no
lead on
lasting
they
effect.
lead on the idea that marijuana is the gateway to
Oh,
these
yeah.
drugs, right? So it's like
I do remember hearing that.
It's like, I don't want to do batu, then don't smoke weed.
right?
Right?
Right.
Come on.
I remember that. I remember that fucking workbook that they gave us, like an animated workbook, and you turn it over, and there's each drug and what they're doing, and they had like amphetamines as one of them, and the guy they drew was so spun the fuck out. Like, I was just laughing at him, like, holy shit, this is
comical.
crazy.
Like
Yeah.
leapfrogs, some
Funny.
leapfrog stuff right there.
Leapfrog.
Right?
Oh shit. Fucking Mattel.
It was like a McGruff truck book, you know? That was
I
fucking
forgot about McGruff.
dude. McGruff truck was a
What was his little
Right.
dog's name? Scrappy?
no.
Scrappy Doo.
No, that
McGruff
was-
truck
that
had
was-
a
Oh, dude, that's
Scooby.
Scooby-Doo, you asshole.
Didn't McGruff have a younger fucking
No, he
punk ass
did.
fucking?
He
No,
had
was
a-
that Scooby Doo?
He had a trench coat.
Yeah. He totally had a little mini.
And like
Big little.
a fucking detective hat.
Yes.
Yeah. For
Only
sure.
you
He'd always
could take-
point at you.
No, that's-
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck.
Help me take a bite out of crime. That was the slogan, right?
Yes.
Yes.
He didn't have a little small.
But they had a
pint-sized-
McGruff truck, right, on like every corner or some shit. Like,
Well, like a
out
lot
and
of
about.
cop cars still to this day have the McGruff truck logo.
The old bootleg.
And even like Hawaii Telecom, well, I don't know, when it was Oceanic Time Warner, they would have it on there.
Yes.
But that's more so if you're in the neighborhood and you see them, you can go to them for help.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you know, like if you're a kid and you see that on there, you can like run to this person. They're a trusted individual, but like
Right.
all cable installers.
Yeah. No, just jump in my van. You be safe.
Trying to lay some
But like that's why they had it on there. I mean, to like alert, like there's someone you can go to in the neighborhood if you.
Did you
need-
ever notice what McGruff wore a trench coat, right, and a fedora?
Yeah, like a fucking.
Did you ever see the
peeping
neighborhood
Tom.
watch, like the logo is a person in a trench coat and a fedora?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Then I feel like, well,
They're
then back with my
queuing
mom,
you,
they would like not like reference it to that, like, and you're saying you would go to that person and yada 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 and
Yeah.
you'd be safe. Neighborhood watch, isn't that what that sign is for? It's for
What if
neighborhood
you
watch.
went to run up? You were in trouble and you ran up to a Oceanic Time Warner cable truck, and the guy over there had a trench coat and a fedora on. I was like, "What's up, little kid?
Right.
Open the door. Ah!
Help me take a bite out. Get in the van. Get in the van, little kid."
I'm gonna take a bite out of something. Get in the van right now.
Oh, easy Pennywise over there.
No, I think that's right. I feel like I remember that. I could be wrong.
Right.
Right.
Because even like our friends, when they first started working for like Time Warner, when they were cable installers and stuff, they had those logos on their vans.
Oh, shit.
Was
Yeah.
it really? For
Yeah.
real?
Yeah.
Imagine running
Maybe
up
not
to
now. Who owns it
Chandrick
now?
when you're in trouble.
Spectrum. Maybe not now. Spectrum. They're like very mainline, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe not.
You
But
run
who
up,
knows?
hey, Mr. Trey, help me. It's Chandrick in his fucking
Yeah,
Spectrum
right.
van. The wrong person. He's like, I'm gonna call somebody to jump in my car.
Right, like,
He's so mellow. He won't help nobody.
Like they'll just call the cops for you. They're not gonna like
Yeah.
Right?
offer any like
Stay right there, I'm gonna call
emotional
911.
support
Yeah.
or like comfort you or like render CPR. They'll just call the cops and like somebody needs to help this kid.
Someone prop his head up with a pillow. He'd be fine.
Right?
Hold your legs up above your head.
Oh, fucking love it.
All right. Well, should we wrap it up then? Since we've been
Yes,
going for
yes.
over 2 hours.
Yeah, that's...
You dropped some knowledge, sister.
Hell
We
yeah.
appreciate it, man.
That shit
Hell
flew by.
yeah.
It did. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
Sweet.
tell everybody again your Instagram, all that good stuff. Where they
everything.
can find you, where your clinic's located.
The website to vote, to write your testimony,
Right.
all of that stuff.
So, Malie Cannabis Clinic. That is us. So on a lot of our stuff, we're Malie Clinic, TikTok, because we always be getting the shadow ban.
Yeah. That's how it is.
But then MalieCannabisClinic.com, and then also for organizing Cannabis Hui. And so we'll put that also links to both of those because it's going to be so important. And I agree in, making it really accessible and making it easy. So heard and yes.
100%.
Right on.
That's what's up.
And you, sir?
Oahu Garden Supply, 94150 Waipahu, Hawaii, or Leo Street, Waipahu, Hawaii, 96797.
Beautiful
Check us out.
Waipahu, as we say. And
Yes.
follow me on Instagram, Voices from the Planet, and subscribe to my other podcast. Right on.
Right on, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sis.
Thank you.
Turtle Doves. Shout out
Peace.
to Turtle Doves. Peace, guys.